Hello and welcome, everybody. Um, Not just everybody, in particular to all you basketball lovers and hoop heads. My name is Bryce. Welcome back to Check Up, and I'm just having such a gosh damn good day. You want to know why? It's because we're here to talk about basketball, of course, and I hope you're here to listen about basketball, because that's what I'm here to provide you with content, with juicy, beautiful content. And if you somehow got here to the start of this video without reading the title of it or looking at the thumbnail, we are talking about Gradey Dick and the Toronto Raptors. I think this is one of the more interesting players in the league on one of the more interesting rosters in the league. For years now, the Toronto Raptors have been hampered by their inability to shoot the damn basketball, and Gradey Dick can absolutely shoot the basketball. He's done it throughout his high school career. Was a prolific college shooter, and thus far at the start of his NBA career has been an I'd call adequate 3-point shooter in an interesting offensive system that may or may not be hampering his ability to be better. But we'll talk about that later. We'll worry about that later. I think Gradey Dick shows some phenomenal flashes of offensive brilliance and some flashes of non-brilliance, which is again something that we'll address later. But without too much more jabbering on and talking and whatnot, let's go ahead and just dive into this video, and we'll hop into the first portion here. Now, in a good video breaking down Gradey Dick is going to start with breaking down his shooting. As I said in the intro, he's kind of always been a prolific and high-level three-point shooter at all levels of his basketball playing career. And so far in the NBA, he's been a good, I wouldn't say like outstanding shooter, but for this Raptors team, which has been just absolutely mired in inadequate shooting ability from its basketball players. He feels like a godsend almost when you're watching them. He's just this. His shot is so silky smooth, comes out of his hands so goddamn quick, has a really high release, and it looks so good that you just have this confidence and this feeling. You're like that shot's going down when you see it. It's really he is an outstanding form shooter, and that's why I have belief that as his career progresses, he will become just a better and better shooter as his the team situation improves, as some of the players on the Raptors get better. Hopefully, as the Raptors add some high level guards, maybe his shooting numbers will tick up even better to where they are. So let's go ahead and talk about what his shooting numbers look like. Takes about 9.9 threes per 100 possessions, which is in the 76th percentile amongst all NBA players, and that information is according to databaller.com, which is a beautiful website that I'll link down below. So top three quarters of the league as far as attempt rate goes. He's particularly a catch and shoot guy, kind of as you can see from these clips here. He takes a vast majority of his threes without dribbling at all, and then even bigger majority of his threes with only 1 to 0 dribbles taken. So he's not a guy that's taking a lot of step backs, taking pull ups, sidestep threes, whatever. He's coming off of screens. He's chilling out in the corner. He's hiding out on the wing, and he's waiting for the ball, and he's just gonna fire that bad boy up. Now, the reason that I believe in Gradey so much is that when you watch the tape, I think when you look at the stats, they don't seem like wildly impressive. 38% on catch and shoots is good. It's not fantastic, but it's very, very solid. He also has a 57.3% effective field goal percentage on catch and shoots, which is also pretty solid. But again, nothing like absolutely outstanding. But I think when you watch the tape, you just see the ways in which he could be used as a weapon that I don't really think he is currently. The Raptors are, again, they're a weird team, right? They have a lot of like high level ball handling forwards. They just don't have a lot of high level guard play. So their ball handling forwards, while are capable of taking the rock and maybe running an offensive possession or two, are not like so exceptional at it that this Raptors team should be focusing all of their energy on highlighting them, and yet they do. So I think Grady is kind of stuck in a weird team situation in which he seems so far early in his career to excel most as a guy who has offensive sets for him designed where he can move off the ball and then receive passes from people who see the floor better than he does, and yet the Raptors don't really have players that are capable of like pulling that off. So you see flashes of it, but I don't think the statistics seem outstanding. But I think they can be. Now, something that I'd like to see this season is for Grady to take a larger variety of different kinds of threes. I think as shooters in the NBA, there becomes such a difference in value between like guys who excel off the catch and guys who excel off of movement in different interesting sets. I think it's more valuable to a team, even if it means like a slight decrease in the percentage of your shots that go in, for you to be able to hit a larger variety um, of just different kinds of threes. And that's something quickly I want to highlight here. Um, Again, the Raptors have a weird team situation. They have a weird build. They have a lot of ball handling forwards. They don't have a ton of high level guards. They don't really have guards that are table setters. So I think Grady is kind of in an unfortunate team situation outside of having Jakob Pertl as a screening partner. But he's kind of in an awkward team situation to maximize himself. But I want to go over a short series of clips that highlight some of the different kinds of threes that he can take, can make, and can be useful to the Raptors. So these first two clips right here are going to be DHOs. Again, these kind of to me just highlight like how fast and high this release gets off. That was right over Jarris Walker, I believe, and those two can't be like far off from the same height. I know Jarris Walker is like a much stronger individual, but like just didn't even phase Grady at all. That shot just comes off so fast. Here's another really interesting one. We get this is actually like a shooter screen. So we got this is Jacoby Walter, I think, who is a shooter in college. He's gonna get set this little pin down kind of action as we got the ball up top. Obviously, Grady is looking for that initial pass. He's got his hands out already. Um, it's not there because Strother follows him over the screen, but look how far back Jokic is in drop right here. As long as we get an effective screen from this offensive player right here, which we get just enough space for him to just let that thing fly, there's not a single Nuggets player that has a chance of defending this shot. So, like, he can take and make these, and I'd like to see him do it more because when they go in, they just look absolutely unguardable, and they look freaking beautiful, if you ask me. Now, Gradey Dick is a pretty paltry pull-up shooter, as most NBA players are at 24%. But if he could add this element to his game, I think it makes him interesting. Again, Raptors don't have a ton of ball handlers in like his side range and at his position. So I mean, if he become a more high-level ball handler, that would of course be very useful to him. And pull-up threes are a big part of that. Another thing that the Raptors used to be like known for, right, was that the only way they could score was in transition. That was kind of a big thing. Is that they would get the ball, they would pull it off the rim, and because you had like three forwards on the floor at all times who could shoot, dribble, pass, kind of, they could just pull the ball off the rim, take it down the court, and score in transition. Grady Dick also helps them score early in the shot clock by providing again just that lightning quick release. Here is again Jakob Bertel, of course, shows up a million times in his film, setting screens for him. Sets a nice screen for him here, where that Lakers defender was just caught kind of sleeping, and then Grady, what is this? This is gonna be like 8 seconds into the shot clock. not even that they're gonna get a three on this play, like a very easy three. And again, for this Raptors team that doesn't do well in the half court, it matters a lot that they can get these like very quick, efficient buckets. And Gradey is a huge reason why they can. I think we've got another little kind of pin down thing. Yep, little double screen. Jakob Pertl catches Steph Curry right there, leaves him wide open. Beautiful, perfect. You love to see it. Now this next one is a really interesting play from me for that I or a really interesting play here that I like. It doesn't look like much, but it shows a lot. So we have what is that? So we initiate the offense on the right side of the court here. Gradey comes out of the corner, receives the little handoff, dumps it here to Jakob, who's going to swing it over to Scotty. Now, when Jakob swings this over to Scotty, Jakob is going to set a screen here on Aaron Gordon. But Gradey Dick, meanwhile, is not just going to stand here on the wing, like possibly awaiting a pass. He kind of snakes under those guys. What does that do? That makes Christian Brown think. And making defenders think is such a huge part of basketball, right? So this makes Christian Brown think. And what does Christian Brown think? I need to step up and defend this because for some reason I'm afraid of Scotty Barnes pulling up here and like hitting an easy mid-ranger. Now, this is poorly communicated, this kind of switching action, which is again it's very weird. Normally you would expect the switch to come between the ball handler and the screener. So if anything, Jokic should be the one switching on to Scotty Barnes here. But because Gradey Dick made this little sneaky move and forced Christian Brown to be in position to make this switch, the Nuggets don't communicate this switch properly, and Gradey Dick gets an easy wing three. Um, I'd like to see him used creatively more like that because Jakob Pertl is an excellent passer and an excellent screener, and just forcing defenses to think via these like weird off-ball movements. It's an easy way to farm points, you know. Now we're gonna end with again another little play that I love here. The Magic are in a zone right now, and what's your first objective as a basketball player? Get the ball into the middle of the zone because that opens up decisions for you. So we get the ball here into the middle of the zone. Wendell Carter drops back because he knows Kelly Olynyk is kind of just hanging out in this dunker spot right here. Bruce Brown first looks for that pass, sees that it's not there, looks to the wing, sees that the wing pass is not there, passes it back out to Davion Mitchell. All the meanwhile, you see, so we've gone from 1, 2, 3 decisions, and now we just have the ball back up at the top of the key. So what now? Well, Kelly Olynyk, instead of just staying in the dunker spot like he was, is actually going to come up, set this little back screen, or little flare screen, excuse me, and Gradey Dick is pointing to the corner, looking directly at Davion Mitchell and telling him, hey, I'm falling back here. Give me the ball. And what do we get? A beautiful, easy corner three. I like that. Again, the Raptors just need more easy offense, and Gradey Dick is the release valve for that. Now let's move into the next part of the video where we're going to talk about Gradey Dick's potential as a high level offensive player in the NBA. Obviously, this part of his game all results from the fact that he is an excellent shooter. Teams chase him around screens. They go hard over screens to make sure that he doesn't get an easy release. And this gives him access to the mid-range and to driving lanes that obviously if he were a worse shooter, he wouldn't have. Now, he at times showcases a lot of soft touch. He shows some creative rim finishes. He really loves to take that running floater shot. You just saw him take over Rudy Gobert there, and I think he's got some interesting shake and bake to his game that can really, really, really open up his ceiling as an NBA player. And I think there's a very good chance that it materializes for him in this league. Again, like I said, he's got the height for it. He's got the size. He's got the body. I think he's a hard-working dude. He's kind of always had a little more shake and bake to his game than people would otherwise have believed. He makes smart basketball decisions as a cutter from time to time when players aren't paying attention. And I think again, given a more given a roster that makes more sense, I think Gradey Dick would be able to access all of this stuff like even better. But that's neither here nor there. That's not what we're here to talk about. Is how bad this Raptors roster is. Um, but all that is to say that I think there's a very high chance that in a couple of years we're seeing Grady as a more complete offensive player, just because his shooting is only going to get better as long as he continues to take a myriad and a variety of different threes. Teams are going to be forced to defend him in different ways on the perimeter, and this will just help open up the floor to him. And especially if the Raptors can kind of figure their shit out and make a roster that makes more sense, that will help him be in a team situation that is more well defined in a modern context, and will really help him just kind of open up his driving game, his little mid range game, and I think will just unlock him as a basketball player. Now we're gonna move kind of into the final part of this video here, where unfortunately, yes, we do have to talk about Grady's weaknesses. Now, I've ragged a lot in this video about how I don't like this Raptors roster and I don't think it makes sense, and I think that hurts Grady's development. But unfortunately, some of Grady's offensive woes, um, he shot a pretty paltry field goal percentage, pretty bad from inside the arc, pretty awful in the mid range last season, and some of that is self inflicted. Here is a perfect example that we're going to rewind just a bit. Right? So, um, we talked about how Grady's 3 point shooting ability opens up his driving game and opens up the mid range to him, right? Well, sometimes, as we have here, he's got Peyton Pritchard all the way turned around. Peyton Pritchard does a decent job of recovering on this and squaring his hips back, and Luke Cornett is pretty deep in drop here, but he's doing an excellent job of containing, and then Jordan Walsh is kind of making a little pinch over here to stop this drive. Now, what most players in this scenario would probably do is you're going to swing to your big man here, let him take this little midi, swing back to the perimeter here, or pull the ball out. Instead, Grady picks up the ball and just kind of puts up this poor mid-ranger. There was still like 10 seconds on the shot clock, plenty of time to run another offensive set. And again, just unfortunately, he just has pretty poor shot selection a lot of times. He shies away from contact like really, really heavily. Um, the physicality is not there, and like I said, that runner I kind of talked about before, the little floating runner he likes to take. Sometimes it goes in, man, and sometimes it does not. He'll take runners from like 8, 10 feet out, and you're just kind of like, what are you doing, man? Like, initiate some contact, take it all the way to the rim, like see if you can get to the free throw line. I don't have his free throw rate on me right now, but I know that it's pretty paltry. I wanted to rewind this clip really quick and just talk about it again. Grady Dick loves these mid range shots. I don't really know why. He takes a lot of them and he doesn't really make many of them at all. And although this shot does go in, I just wanted to highlight how I think this is a poor shot. Again, a mid-ranger from this far out in today's modern NBA, unless it's being taken by a player that's like DeMar DeRozan or Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, is just pretty inefficient and useless. We've also got multiple passing options here that are probably better shots than this. Firstly, we got Ochai Agbaji, who looks to be probably pretty open under the rim here. He easily could have just zipped that pass down to him. I think Anthony Edwards kind of fell asleep. And then we've also got the pass to the wing here with Davion Mitchell. Again, Davion Mitchell, not like a super high level 3 point shooter, but probably a better shot than this. And again, even though it does go in, I still don't like that shot. And I really just would wish he would kind of eliminate those from his game. I don't think they're needed. I don't want to rag on it too much here because I don't like hating on basketball players. And I don't like talking about what people don't do well, but I think it is important sometimes that we recognize that there are things that players could work on, and it's fun to kind of examine that and then register it, and moving forward, just see what happens, see what improves, see what changes. But yeah, I think that about wraps it up for me today here, guys. I felt like sometimes at points in this video it felt a little rambly and nonsensical to me, so I apologize if you felt that too. But otherwise, I hope you enjoy, and I can't wait to see you again here on the channel. Bye.